live, and it's RaddTitan, and we are here this week. We are joined by the two new owners of PCS Pop Culture Shop. We're here with Mark and Anthony. So say hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello. So we promised we're going to try and behave ourselves, and we're not going to make it too awkward or difficult, but we can't. We don't know whether that's actually going to work out. So yeah, keep watching, and it's live, so we can't hear all that.
I know. Obviously, we got the public questions as well, so we can't protect you from the minions that may be out there that want to know your deepest, darkest secrets. My apologies in advance. Alex will have to fill the questions.
I'm trying. So yeah, I mean, first of all, yeah, come George.
And thanks very much and for being on here as well, because coming on here live and with none of that sort of editing or messing around, it takes some real stand-up, honest guys to have the bottle to do it. We send these invites out very, very often, and you'd be surprised how many people are like, yeah, we'll think about it, we'll let you know. So well done first for coming on here. I do want to say, I would like to know, as from the two of you, what sort of collecting backgrounds and history you have in the industries that you've decided to jump into.
Sure, I'll go first. I just want to say, first of all, thank you guys for having us. I have been a big RaddTitan fan for a long time and have watched many of these shows myself with various guests. So it's an honor to be here with you guys. My collecting background goes back since I was about 5 years old. My first Star Wars figure was Luke Skywalker, and ever since then I've just collected everything. As far as statues go, I mean, it goes back to the original Bowen days, and even before that, Hallmark put out these little figures that people would collect in like the mid '90s, and those are kind of cool. I still have some of those. So I can call myself a collector for at least the last 25 years. And
wow.
And PCS was part of that collection too. I've been a big PCS fan Jerry fan ever since he put out the original Kuma 10 years ago. So it was a great opportunity to come in and help Jerry build this business and get it back on track. So it was an honor to do that.
All righty, I guess it's my turn. This is Anthony. So mine is a little bit different than Mark's. I mean, I've collected toys and stuff when I was younger, Star Wars, Transformers, etc. But from a statue perspective, my journey is just a little bit different. I'll say I've been following the business probably for the last 7 to 10 years. But I actually didn't buy my first piece until 3 years ago. And the main reason being is I'm one of those weird people that are right and left brain. So I'm very analytical, but also artistic. So I paint, draw, sculpt, etc. Even when I got out of college, I was teaching 3D animation, game design, etc. before I ended up going into business. But every time I would see a statue, I was like, I'm not going to buy that because I can just make it once I retire. So that happened for 4 to 5 years.
I love it.
So that happened for about 4 to 5 years. And then 3 years ago, I was like, let me just go ahead and buy my first piece. And then I bought my first piece and then started collecting. And then late last year, late last year, ended up meeting Mark to purchase a piece from him. And we hit it off really, really well. I think we talked every single day for probably the last half of last year. There's kind of an instant bromance, I should say, because we both have interest in both statue collecting as well as saltwater fish, which was kind of unique on how we kind of met. Okay. But with that, I kind of hit up Mark late last year and was like, hey, man, I'm a couple years from retirement. I think I want to start a statue company. And I think he thought I was bullshitting at first when I told him that. But then just started getting everything rolled in. And then, I mean, here we are today. So a little bit different of a journey.
I've got to ask you, what was the first piece? If you waited for so long and you could have made it, what was the first piece you bought?
My very first piece was Prime 1 Ninja Turtle. I got, I think it was I think I got all 4 of them at the same time.
or the new version.
Oh wow, that's
the,
jumping.
The 1990 versions.
Yeah, the first reboot movie versions.
Oh, okay,
Ah,
yeah. I would have gone with the classic ones. I would have gone with the 1990 ones, to be honest. But that's just me.
yeah, that's us, isn't it? That's back from our days, man. Jesus, yeah. Cool.
So yeah,
I mean, for me, I think the real question that a lot of people really want to know is why PCS? I mean, you could have, there's probably one other company you could have tried to get involved with that was in suffering a rougher spot at the time than Pop Culture Shocks, and that would have been ARH. Other than that, you've given yourself probably the biggest challenge, one of the biggest challenges going out there at the moment. Why did you choose Popcorn? I mean, obviously, Jerry Macaluso is an incredibly talented sculptor. I mean, magnificent work that he's put out for a very long time. But why jump into Pop Culture Shocks? We all know there's a lot of things that you're going to need to change there.
Yep, I'll say some of it. It kind of it was almost happenstance. Sort of kind of fell into our lap. So, like I said, late last year, we were in the process of starting our own company. We had factories lined up. We had some artists lined up. We also, I have good connections with a couple people that were able to get us some meetings lined up with some licensors. So we were actually down the path of completely starting our own. And then what ended up happening is one of the artists that we were going to hire to do one of our first couple pieces ended up coming to us and saying, hey, I think Jerry may be interested in selling PCS. And from my perspective, I'd rather buy than build. And yeah, it's kind of, this is exactly how this turned out. The funny thing was that when we first broached Jerry, he actually wasn't in the process of selling. It was kind of just ended up working out the way it worked out.
The evolution really is everything. And then when we came aboard, we saw an opportunity to help Jerry too. We saw. Jerry was a one-man band in this company, and he was working, literally 18-hour days, sleeping on the couch here, just trying to do too much. And so we came in and wanted to help too. And this sort of evolved, this whole transition into Anthony and I taking over the business management of the company, and then eventually the ownership of the company. It sort of evolved over the last almost year now. It's been a crazy journey. I think the question was, why PCS? Well, why not PCS? It's a great company. It has its issues. It has its hiccups, but I think we're making progress to iron things out. And the other thing too, just from a business standpoint, it's a good investment in the future. I think that if you're going to invest in a business, you want to invest in a business that has room for improvement, and PCS has a lot of room for improvement. So we're happy to take on that challenge.
I think the thing with PCS, great. I mean, they've. I mean, what I did before I was going to try and put like a slideshow going, where I was going to show like loads of your images on like another feed while the chat was running on. And I managed to download about 250 pictures just from going Google Pop Culture Shock and just downloaded loads. And by doing that, I mean, I knew you guys did a lot of really good pieces, but then just by going through it like all at once, I was just like, yeah, that's a really good one. Download that picture. And I'm like, Jesus, they've done a lot of pieces. And I did, you just, when you think back, you just don't realize how much there actually is. I mean, there's hundreds and hundreds of pieces Pop Culture Shock have done. Hundreds.
Yeah.
And I mean,
I was actually going to do my end of the interview, because I'm in Simi Valley, and Anthony is in North Carolina right now. And I was actually going to do my part of the interview in our conference room, because there's a wall that has virtually every piece on. But it's being torn down right now. We're in the preparation for moving, so most of the pieces are boxed up already. But I've
got a piece that you haven't got, by the way, because I don't. I think Ant was telling me that you don't have the Mech Zangief there, so I've got that actually. But yeah,
there's a couple of pieces that I personally looked for the first day I walked into the building. The original is one of them. The Mech Zangief, even the regular Zangief, is another one. And there's some pieces that just don't exist here at all.
Yeah.
But
it's just a shame, really. I guess they're so early though in the stages that it probably wasn't thought of to collect them all at that time. And I mean that they're two pieces, those two especially, they have really like gone up in masses of value on the secondary market.
Well, in the fact that Jerry, when he first did that Akuma, and probably the Zangief too, because it wasn't too long after the Akuma that one came out, he was literally still in his garage working on this stuff.
Wow.
And this was 10 years ago. And since then, I believe they've actually moved 3 times into this building. So I think a lot of stuff just ended up getting lost or
borrowed.
Or borrowed, right? Permanently. So,
I mean, you've talked about this like taking on of PCS, and obviously, the good question is why not? I mean, obviously the basis is there, and you've got an extreme piece of talented manpower in Jerry Macaluso. But what else? I mean, when you walked in there, when you first decided and you got in there and you saw what was going on behind the scenes, what was the first thing that you thought, my God, we need to either change, help, or fix, this part of it?
Anthony,
you want to take your? Yeah, I'll take my piece, and then you could take the customer service piece. So from my side, the biggest piece was production. The massive delays and statues. I think what a lot of people don't realize is just the big headaches that really do go through with production in the factories in China, especially there's certain vendors of these factories. I kind of got a crash course in that when we first came on, because it was kind of the run the business to make sure that you really want this before we actually close the deal. So that's kind of why we came on in June. Yeah, so we came on in June, but didn't really close until a couple months ago. But yeah, from my perspective, and these are all equal. I don't see any of these as being like #1 issue versus #2. I consider all these, both the issues I'm about to talk about and the ones that Mark will touch on, as #1 issues. But from the factory perspective, it's just the delays. There was one factory, and I'm so glad once I'm out from underneath their thumb, I got like 1 or 2 more projects with them, and then that's it. It's just the constant delays. I'll give you a couple examples. The Akumas and the Ninjas, both of those were at the same factory. Both of those were huge delays, and that factory moved those projects, I want to say 2 or 3 times. So it was a vendor handling that relationship, and one of the factories it was at went bankrupt. So they had to go in, get all the molds, the samples, etc., move it to another factory. And then that factory was moving slow, not making the changes that Jerry wanted to make sure that it was perfect, and moved to another factory. So when you start doing that, every time you move it to another factory, you're starting from square one again. It's not an easy take it and you just continue on. It's you basically hit the reset button every single time. And the problem with this particular vendor is they're just not responsive when we say, hey, change X, Y, Z. You end up spending weeks back and forth with them to get them to change it. For some of the new factories we have now, it's like, make this change, and it's like done in the next day. So just that alone is night and day. So from my perspective, though, that's huge, is getting out from under some of the old factories. I want to say I probably fired at least 2 to 3 vendors when I first came on, like in June, July, and then brought in 4 new factories. And these factories they're the same factories that Prime One, XM, Sideshow, everybody uses. So we know the quality is there. We've already started to see that come out. Their response times are a lot quicker. The product is fantastic. I can't wait to see. I've seen the pictures of Darkness, and it looks amazing. Same with like Conan. We ended up moving Conan to XM's factory. And Conan is looking amazing. So it's just the change to keep that quality, but also the timing as well from a factory perspective.
I heard the rumors about Conan being XM.
Yeah.
I jumped on board when I heard the rumors. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of a funny story. So I actually ended up finding that factory last year when Mark and I were about to start our own company. So that was actually the factory we were going to use. Unbeknownst to us, it was same factory that XM uses.
Yeah.
But I mean, their quality is, I mean, you guys know, it's everybody knows it's amazing. So we're excited.
Consistent as well. That's the best thing about it.
Exactly.
So
some other things,
yeah.
you get like half of them are brilliant, then you get some that are not and some that are not. But it seems like with the factories that XM Prime One use, the product looks the same most of the time. It looks nearly identical. So that's important. That's very good.
Yeah. So am I right in saying, I don't want to pull you off subject, but am I right in thinking that the first real releases that you two fine gentlemen are going to be involved with Pop Culture Shock really will be the Darkness and the Conan? Is that the first step of what we should be continuing to see from Pop Culture Shock?
Yes, correct. Those are the first two that Darkness is still at the factory I don't like, but and that's why it was still delayed. But from a QC perspective, we got a new guy that's on the ground that's in China, lives in China, and we sent our production guy to China as well a couple months ago to QC in person, and it looks night and day. And one of the other reasons that it's different, even though still with this old factory, is that I'm holding their feet to the fire. Meaning, if it doesn't come out right, I'm not fixing it. Right? It's not that you're going to send it to me and we're just accept it. No, it's that those days are gone.
Yeah.
So yes, like Darkness, Conan, I would say Conan definitely, because that's one that I moved versus was continuing on with production. From a timing perspective, as far as like release dates, I would say our first one is Chun-Li. That was like the first pre-order where we were on board and we set the timing, set in the right factories, etc. So from a like not hitting those 2-3 year delivery dates, Chun-Li is our benchmark start from us coming on. But with that said, we've bum rushed all the other old stuff like to the front of the line. We've had to spend extra money to get priority. We've had to move them to better factories that will put us in front. I mean, there was a factory that was doing like all this stuff for like Walmart that wouldn't even start our stuff, even though they said they started it. We would come to find out that 3 months later, they haven't even started production yet. Right. So it's like that stuff that's gone from here on out. So that's that's
great.
But Mark, I'll let you hit on the customer service side, which is the other piece we're tackling.
Well, yeah. And I think that, to say it in a nice way, that there was some personnel shifts that had to take place fairly quickly.
That's a very diplomatic response.
Yeah, and so
I'm seeing a pairing going on here with Mark and Alex, and me and Ant. I can see it. I can see what's. I can see it.
Yeah, make a good team. So yeah, but from a customer service perspective, there really wasn't any management per se. Yeah. So that was the first thing. I come from a customer service background. Anthony touched on the fact that we have saltwater fish in common, and the connection there. And this will be a shameless plug, but my other business is www.bluezooaquatics.com for all your saltwater fish needs. And so I've had that company for about 15 years now, and so you learn a lot about customer service when you're dealing with live animals. It's a lot more difficult with live animals than static pieces. So I brought a lot of that insight into the speed of response times, how to deal with customer issues efficiently and quickly. So we were able to turn that around really fast. I think the response time for general customer service inquiries when we first got here was like at least a week, if not 2 weeks. That was the general timing. So we instantly to 48 hours, which I still think is too long, and we're working towards a 24-hour response time for all issues. We've got really good people in place now who are dedicated to the response time, but also dedicated to the company. And one of the other big problems, and this has gone back and forth, Anthony's touched on it in posts in the past, is we had a person working here who she was in charge of refunds. and she didn't do a very good job at that position. So we discovered early on that the refunds from a year ago weren't done. They were posted as being done in our system. So it's taken me and my team the last 3 or 4 months just to go through and verify all of these refunds from the past year and a half. And so it's those little things that we've been able to grapple. And I think that your question was always the number one thing, and that was the number one thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we posted obviously that you on our group that you would be on today, and basically said, you know, if you had any questions, and the overwhelming responses that we, as I was going through the comments, was mostly actually the two things you mentioned, which was, you know, why is the refunds taking like years to come when they're, you know, and there's so much back and forth about it and they don't hear for so long, and why are pieces taking so long to actually come out from, you know, pre-order. I mean, so I think that's two really big points that you've touched on, you know, because that was quite
one of the other ones
was quite an overwhelming response
with the delays. I think one of the issues as well with the delays was they weren't communicated very well. A lot of the delays were already communicated on the statue forum, which is where, you know, you guys pay to be on the statue forum and you have your group on there. And Jerry was spending a lot of his time communicating with those people on that group. Other people, I was banned from statue forum a long time ago, and basically, then when when the news comes across over to Facebook, you end up getting people who are then, one, that they're a bit pissed off that they haven't heard it firsthand, but then it's also Chinese whispers, so they don't hear the way Jerry actually even said it, and it sort of like ends up, you know, going down the line, and, you know, the story changes along the way. And I think that probably causes a lot of problems as well, as just the communication side of it, really.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and that's one of the reasons we started the Pop Culture Shock Facebook collectors group, was that you have that space for not just people that are on forum, but also people that are on Facebook to hear firsthand from myself, the rest of our team, on delays or what's coming up, sneak peeks of new projects, all that stuff. So it's not just on the forums. We want to touch everywhere. That sounded really dirty. But I completely get it. So again, just because it was in a sentence, tell me the Facebook group so that everybody knows there's either watching this or watching through Facebook, that will know, you know, how, if they are a Pop Culture Shock, you know, member, if they're a collector of your items, where can they find this information if they're not on the forums? What's the group called? Pop Culture Shock Collectors Group. So you'll see that, we have a lot of members on there now, and I mean, we show everything on there. I've given like discounts on purchasing statues from the website on that group. We've done sneak peeks before it hits the newsletter or anywhere else, videos, behind the scenes, factory shots, etc. So we try to show more there, and I'll say the response has been overwhelmingly positive. Because it kind of goes to your point of communication, and I'm a fan of over communicate with the handstand. It can never be a bad thing. I will say this. I mean, we obviously, you know, we review and we go and see, and we see things from like loads of companies, lots of things. And the one thing I will say is that the Pop Culture Shock fan base is an incredibly loyal fan base. So that's one thing that you definitely do have in your favor, is that they're very tolerant and very much, you know, even when pieces have been poor and they've been beyond reproach. I mean, they're really, some of them are not defendable, but they do a big defense. Like, people will say, "Oh no, it's okay." Like, you know, are you
talking about Luke Kang?
I would know.
Are you talking about Luke Kang?
I'm doing. I didn't want to mention his name, like the Candy Man. I don't like to mention him too often, just in case he ends up in my collection. 5 times or he'll appear.
It's literally, we didn't post a review until I sold it, and it took me quite a long time to sell it. And I think I still wake up in a cold sweat every now and again, and I'm like, Luke Kang.
Is it here? Is it here? But I mean, this is also another thing. You can't actually be crucified on projects you're not involved in also. I mean, that's why it's really important for people to know where your sort of foot in the door starts. because that's important, because I think, you know, 90% of your battle is going to be, you know, this is where we are, this is what we're doing moving forward. You know, what happened here is not, you know, I can't be strung up. I shouldn't be, you know, strung up for these sort of errors or mistakes. This is what we're doing to fix it. But in the same breath, let's move forward without sort of going too far backwards. Saying that, with the issues that you had and you had to fix, how have you gone about fixing it? Yeah, you're getting rid of the factories and you've got some new ones in place. And from what I'm understanding, the customer service point, you're getting a lot more sort of foot heavy with people. You've got more people working, more people in position.
Yeah, and just different systems as well. This company was started off in the garage, in Jerry's garage 10 plus years ago. And realistically, and he'll say the same thing, the company evolved into this behemoth, but still had the same practices as when he was in the garage. So some of the things we had to do was bring in a modern customer service system, a modern shipping system. Some of the things I borrowed from other companies that I've run, and it's been a process. But that's one of the things is from a customer service perspective, it's a much more efficient system of answering emails and answering requests and answering you know, transfer requests or another one that we've gotten more efficient at with the new system. So it's not only people, but it's actually the system behind the people as well.
That's great. And so with that going on, you're trying to respond to every query within 24 hours, which is fantastic. What's the situation?
I will say this. Hold on. I will say this, that we are in the middle of a move, and this place, I'm in my office right now, and I position the nicest, cleanest part behind me, because this place is an absolute mess right now. There's boxes everywhere. There's things being packed up as I talk. So I posted on Statute Form earlier, and I said that everyone here, including myself, has 2 jobs right now. We're doing our day-to-day activity, but we're also movers. We're wrapping statutes. We're taking stuff off shelves. We're palletizing things. So, you know, for the next month and a half or so, people have to forgive us a little bit if we extend into that 48-hour response time mark as opposed to 24 hours. I promise that once we're settled in North Carolina, things will be great.
Yeah, I was going to say, so for the people that don't know, you are in the process of moving to North Carolina. I was just about to say that. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we'll be Valley on December 31st.
Yeah, and that was it was a couple of reasons for that. One, I'm based in North Carolina. 2, Jerry was moving from California to Vegas anyways, which, I mean, he's the heart and soul of the art department. And actually, I guess I should touch on that piece real quick before I even continue with the move. And this kind of goes back to your comment about our loyal fans. I know there was we saw some posts or concerns about, oh, Jerry's gone. We have these new suits that are coming in and they're going to ruin the company, blah, blah, blah. Look, I look good in a suit, but I mean, anybody that met me at New York Comic-Con knows I'm very down to earth. I juck it up with the best of them. Maybe it was because 5 Hour Energy was right next to our booth. Who knows? But like I said, I'll be here in t-shirts. I mean, I don't even have on pants right now. I just got on a dress shirt. So, but that's kind of, so we're not your typical suits. Yes, we're very business oriented. We know how to run a business, but we're also collectors and fans as well. We're more fans of the art than anything else. And that's one of the reasons with this deal, that the only reason we agreed to this deal was if Jerry stayed on. And it was because of that, because we want him to focus on just the art, which he is fantastic at, and let us handle the business. But back on the move. So I mean, go ahead.
Yeah.
So I was gonna say the move.
No, I was just about to say. I mean, we speak to a lot of artists. We know a lot of artists. I mean, we've been very blessed with the thing that we try to do to bring people together, because the whole point of the RaddTitan when it started was for us to be able to bring everybody, as many people together as we can, artists, sculptors, company owners. You know, the whole point was to make communication easier, so there wasn't any of these sort of grey areas that nobody understood. The one thing I can say from speaking to a lot of artists is that they are, you know, like all things, the creative should be concentrating on the creative, and worrying about responding to emails and worrying about delays and worrying about these things. That is very, very stressful, and a lot of them, you know, don't do very good in that regard. I mean, even, you know, some of the custom work, some of the people that we know, they won't respond. I mean, people send hundreds of messages, and they don't do very well. And we're talking about you just collecting the check. You're just collecting a deposit. You got 20 people that want to give you $500.
Yeah.
And it's just about getting there. It's not that the urgency just isn't for that. You know, it's just like, you know, sometimes you just need the business people to look after that and make sure that the artists can get on with what they want to do and make the best pieces that they can without being distracted with all the surrounding issues. So I completely understand what you're saying. I mean, it can be very, very frustrating, and, you know, running a place, you know, today, I mean, obviously you're saying that Pop Culture Shock just became such a monster that it couldn't continue to run the way it was being run. So I completely get what you're saying.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I like to think of this place as being separate too. I like to think of it as an art studio, right? That just happens to also have a statue company connected to it that produces statues. Because there's not a lot of companies out there anymore that really do what we do. A lot of the companies, and I won't mention names, but a lot of the companies out there do a lot of outsourcing of the actual art. And PCS is one of the last companies with its own team of in-house artists, sculptors, painters, mold makers, who work directly with Jerry to produce these works of art first. And then they bring it to my side. I like to say it's my side, where we take the piece and then we send it off to be produced, and then distribute it once it comes back. So I completely agree with you. If we keep that separate, the art department separate from the business, sales, distribution department, it makes for a better experience for everybody, artists, customers, factories, everybody involved. So that's what we've tried to do is make that kind of segregation.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about PCS is the fact that, I mean, you guys are doing a bit more digital stuff, but you guys are still doing a lot of the traditional sculpting, which a lot of companies have some companies don't even do any. And it's good to still see that art still alive, because it is art and it's great. It's great to see. It has a different look, different feel to it.
It had a feel. It's full of soul. I saw a video recently of Jerry Macaluso. I can't even remember what he was sculpting from. I don't know if it was Sagat or what it was. It was like almost a time lapse video that I saw him do. And to watch it.
Was there no Quintero? Was it called Quintero?
I think it might have been. I can't recall, but it was beautiful thing to see, just how it was brought to life. You know, I wanted to just ask, in regards to the delays, what is your objective in terms of now? So let's say tomorrow X comes up for pre-order. From the moment pre-order goes, what is your aim when it comes into hand?
So our
time-wise.
Yeah. So our aim is it's a two-part answer. Our aim is 12 months. We want to get down to 9 months. It's an aggressive goal, but we are aggressive, and that's what we want to do. Now, some pieces.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, some pieces may go out to that 15, 18-month window, and that may just be because of complexity or just because of capacity of factories. Because again, we're competing with a lot of other companies that are taking up factory floor space. So there's only a limited amount of factories that can actually do what we do, especially when it comes to mixed media. I mean, I think a good example would be Sagat is a good example. We saw some posts of people saying, "Oh, Sagat came out with a pre-order, and then the delivery date is like 15 months. Why isn't it 12 months?" Well, the reason is Chun-Li is before Sagat. If Chun-Li wasn't before Sagat, I could deliver Sagat in 12 months or less. But I'm not going to deliver them before Chun-Li, and I'm not going to rush Chun-Li because her outfit is just way too intricate to try to rush that either with factories or anything else. So we want to make sure she is freaking perfect. So for stuff like that, especially with the 1/3 scale, especially traditional sculpted or mixed media, those take a little bit more time than just a digital file that we can print off and then send to the factories. The other pieces, And I like that you mentioned the traditional sculpting, not just the ones where it's straight up 100% traditional sculpt, but even a lot of our 3D digital prints end up having traditional sculpting in them. A prime example is the Raiden 1/4 that we're doing now, pre-ordering in December. The base is actually
it's like an action pose Raiden. A little bit more. It's got a little bit more of an environmental base. I've seen this one.
Yep. So a lot of the base is being traditional sculpted. Same with the Dread 1/3 that we're doing. We're adding in the bullet holes and the detailing, a lot of that stuff after we print, and doing that in traditional sculpting. So I think to Mark's point, we're one of and to your point, we're one of the rare companies that are still doing traditional sculpting, even when we're doing a 3D digital print.
The thing is that it's not really a problem from a collecting point of view. It's not really a problem to state 15 months. Yep. The transparency is key. The issue has always been to put a date on your pre-order, and then you can never find those numbers again. You remember that it's meant to be March of 2017, then July 2018 comes along and you don't have it. That's when there becomes these issues. I mean, I think people were a lot more tolerant. You know, if you say it's going to be 15 months, the concern will always be, unfortunately for yourselves, will be if you put 15 months, they think 3 years. Because if you put 12 months, they think 2 years. So the estimate in collectors' minds is that it's going to be at least double to double and a half. You know, almost 3 times the length. So until that starts to be proven wrong, you're going to be fighting the tide of those sort of responses. Obviously, like I say, you can't be hung on.
I totally agree, and I think that a lot of that's going to get worked out quicker than people think, because right now, Anthony alluded to it. We've been spending a lot of money on moving product through factories, and a business 101 for a company like this. You want to be able to produce product in proportion to the POs that are being issued. So if you're putting out 2 POs a month, you want to deliver 2 products a month, and just keep that cycle going. Well, there's so many delays over the past year and a half, 2 years almost, that we're now on a 2x5 schedule, or maybe even 2x6. So we have 5 or 6 products that are coming in and still only being able to produce 2 POs a month. So at this rate, we'll catch up with production by February of next year if things go well. So
just showing your Judge Dredd that you were talking about. Sorry, it took me a little while to find it, and then just showing the Raiden.
That's a huge piece. That is absolutely gorgeous, huge piece.
Yep.
So just so people could see what we were talking about a second ago.
Are these both going to be quarter scale?
Dread is 3rd scale.
That's good. Wow, sets are going to be big.
Yeah.
Gary's going to be devastated. He's just got your quarter scale movie piece in. He's going to be gutted. I think we're going to be reviewing that as well on the 2nd of December, as we're trying to get him to bring it with us. So we'll hopefully get a look at that.
Okay. That was something about talking about the factories as well. There was another point that came up, and it comes up a few times on chats, like with individuals more in PMs than actual on groups and things. But some of the delays in the factories are believed to be caused by the increase in the custom market as well, and the fact that now there are so many individuals releasing customs that their projects get rushed through in the factories and push a lot of the sort of bigger projects back because they pay more. And do you think that affects it, or?
No, I would say no. I would say more so it's some of the newer licensing companies that are POing a lot of product. When you have a whole lot of product that's coming through, that is just going to cause a cog in the system. I think Sideshow has done a really good job of like pacing their releases, and I think they're a good company to follow from a how to structure how you do your releases, because we're all in this together, right? It's not me, Mark, the rest of the company. We're kind of let's play nice in the sandbox, right? So we want to plan out stuff so we're not just flooding the market. The problem is when you flood the market like that, you have factory issues. You have collectors that have to now get picky, right? Because there's just too much to choose from. Those are both 2 negatives that affect release dates and production. The other issue, Alex, this is kind of more so than the custom piece, is a factory would rather do 1,000 of one statue than do a 250 run. So that was one of the reasons why PCS is getting pushed to the back of the line, because they can pump out 1,000 Supermans versus doing 150 or 250 Conans, right? So that's kind of more of the issue, and you end up having to pick up more to get pushed to the front of the line, given that small quantity.
That brings on another really good point.
Basically, that's like when you go out for dinner, right? And you sit at a table, you and your wife, or you and your friend, or whatever, me and Alex, whatever. We're holding hands, we're having a good time, and then a big party of about 20 people come in, and you don't get served. That's basically what it's like, right? They're going to look after the big party because that's the big money, the big ticket, the big tip.
Yeah. You just you and Alex were holding hands.
Oh yeah. If he was here right now, I'd be holding his hand. We're incredibly close. You know?
Yeah, me and Anthony.
Yeah, there's the worst part about it is there's nothing I can do to stop it. It just has to happen. No point fighting it. It's years of fighting it. I just can't. I can't deal with that anymore.
I really get that. I really understand that point of view. I get that. But also as well, when you were saying about collectors being picky, also I think
you interrupted me. You can stop now.
Go on.
Yeah, that actually brings up a really good point actually about because the company you may or may not have been speaking about, they've been releasing a lot of but there's other companies that do as well, like variants at a later date. And I actually think that PCS do have a really good model when they release the Street Fighter pieces, and then they release on day one. They will release all the variants, and they'll be transparent about that. I've always thought that's one of like PCS's sort of best attributes or best parts of the business. And then you get the other companies who do it the other way, where I find it very deceptive. Where then they release a product, it sells out, so they go, "How can we make a bit more money? Let's release another variant of another 150, and we'll do that. That sells out. Oh fuck, what can we do now? Let's sell a gold one, you know." And I just think that the way that they've done that is I was just kind of complimenting the way you guys do it to the way that happens. But yeah,
thank you.
Anyway.
Well, Alex, I completely agree with you. And not naming any names. I mean, everyone has a different business model, and I appreciate the business model that PCS has had in the past as well, as far as that goes. And I think it touched on a good point about what our philosophy is and where we want to go with this company. Jerry built this company from nothing and built it up to what it is today. And I think the PCS has a certain feel, a certain look to their pieces. You guys touched on it, the hand sculpting look. There's just something about a PCS piece. Yeah. When Anthony and I first came here to help out and look at things, I think within probably a week or 2 weeks, it dawned on us that we really like the PCS products. And I think we've reached a point now where we rather display our own stuff, like honestly, from a collector standpoint, our own stuff versus some of the other stuff that's being put out by companies. So we want to carry that forward in the future. We want to develop new lines. We want to get involved in new licenses that will bring exciting products to the market. But we always want to maintain that look and feel, that PCS quality of the various lines that we're going to create. So that's one thing I really want to collect. Is PCS will continue.
I think you
in the art direction that it has in the past.
I think I've got about 5 or 6 PCS pieces, and one of my favorite pieces in my collection is the Lino, and I absolutely love that piece. I think that's one of my favorite pieces, and yeah, it's great.
I have to say though, that I think that it used to be a bit more like that. I think you used to look at a pop culture shock piece and you felt Jerry Macaluso. You could feel a bit, that it had the PCS branding. I think because of how busy and how big and all the pulled in multiple directions, I think the last few releases have lost that. I think actors out there, especially with like the Raiden, the Liu Kang that was released, some of those pieces, even the ninjas, You know, a lot of the sculpt details were lost. The mixed media just didn't have the same quality. You know, and people were questioning, you know, what's happened? What's happened to this standard? And I think by you breaking up and saying, look, you concentrate on this and we'll concentrate on that, maybe hopefully we'll start seeing a little bit more of that soul coming back to the pieces. Because you look at, if you took that Raiden, the quarter scale Raiden piece, and you put that against any pop culture release, probably in the first 5 or 10 years, you wouldn't believe it was made by the same company. For factory reasons or whatever reasons, you know, that is quite a big issue. And I think a massive problem in the past would have been this, right? It's like we said about the, you know, recently Sideshow released that, showed that Magneto at the con. Yeah, the new Magneto. Now, they've been teasing that piece for 3 years. Yeah? When that piece was shown, it looked 3 years old. And the people have just gone, absolutely, no, it's not, you know, it's a big letdown, blah, blah, blah. And I think sometimes when you have a delay and it's 2 years, the piece would have come out when it was meant to. It would have been okay. But the standard moves on so quick. Yeah. Companies are doing pre-orders now and they're out in 6 to 9 months. And then the standards are moving up and up and up because there's so many pieces being released. So there's so many good ones that, you know, if something's delayed 2.5 years, a lot of collectors are looking at that piece and they've waited so long that it's really hard to fulfill that anticipation. Waiting 6 months and waiting 2 years is very difficult, very different. And your responses will be completely different. I have many collector friends that, you know, would wait 6 months, and if it's not good, they wouldn't be as devastated as if it's not good and it's 2 years. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Just to follow on from that, I think the problem is as well, you know, with the ninjas was, you know, they did take a long time to come out. I think I ordered, it must have been like 2.5 years ago plus, you know, that I ordered those. In that time, they were like, you know, there were no one-third scale pieces around. You know, they were the only ones at the time. And when they finally came out, there was so much like build up and then so much annoyance that when they kind of came out in hand, it was like, okay, is that it? You know, and I think as George was saying, the kind of evolution of the other pieces around and the detail on the other pieces, and it just didn't hold up in the end. And I think it was a mixture of all of that really. But then saying that, the 1/3 Akumas were amazing. I mean, the body sculpt on the 1/3 Akumas came out
very special. The Akuma was very special, but there was so much more sculpt and feeling and soul in that piece. When we saw that, when we were in Singapore, we were blown away by the Akuma. Absolutely, like it was an insane gem that we stumbled across in Simply Toys. And in Simply Toys, there's thousands of pieces from numerous companies. So having a gem like that stand out is an incredibly big honor in itself. But what, you know, I mean, my point is that as you start to produce and speed up that pre-order process to ordered to your door situation, I think you're still in keeping with the time of the collection. I mean, we're very much the same. That me and Alex think that certain old school Grail so-called pieces, they can hold the time because they're, you know, but majority we're a bit like, you know, it's moved on. It's becoming much more complicated. Paint's getting neater, sculpt's getting cleaner. You know, it's very difficult to sort of, as time moves on, 5, 6, 7 years, the standards are keep moving forward. So I think half of the issue is some of the later pieces, the long pieces you're waiting for, they suffer a lot more because they were delayed for so long.
Yeah,
like that Magneto.
Yeah, no, 100% agree, and it kind of goes to the another point as well. And you kind of hear this comment about like, oh, I waited 2 years, 3 years for it. It better be absolutely 110% perfect, right? Whereas if you release it within your time schedule, then everybody realizes these are still made in China, right? It's not. I don't have OG Kango coming through and painting 1,000 statues individually. So yeah, I think it's kind of you're exactly right. It's a compounding effect. It all goes hand in hand. Definitely all goes hand in hand.
Yeah. It's one of them things. I mean, have you brought in any new artists, any new people that you've brought to the team at PCS?
Yes, we brought in Ralph. He's our head of the art department. Been in the business for I want to say 20, 25 years. Jerry actually said he's the best mold and caster he knows, and he's coming with us to North Carolina. And Ralph has been freaking amazing. He's bringing in new techniques, making the team more efficient, speeding up, pointing out stuff early. Also, Brian on our team on the production side is bringing in a lot of good insight around production from a perspective of when we're creating something, whether or not it can actually be made in China, right? So one of the issues we've heard in the past is, hey, the production piece doesn't look like the prototype.
That's Ralph Cadero, yeah?
Yes, correct.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's all my sources. Actually, Jerry's listening, and he's typed on the comments. He's correcting you, so he's saying the names on there. So Jerry is listening.
Perfect.
Hi, Jerry.
Hey, Jerry. So, and Brian has been doing an awesome job with the factories in China, as well as helping to just point out stuff before we even go to pre-order to say, hey, this isn't, the factory's not gonna be able to reproduce this, so we need to make an adjustment. I think a good example of that, and hopefully this helps all the people that have been asking about Rambo and Rambo's hand. One of the comments people wanted was to change Rambo's hand so it's more of a fist holding on to the bow. The material we use to make that hand, we use literally the screenshot from the movie, and it matches the movie. But the problem with when you make that fist and you try to get a string through that fist and to get China to reproduce that, it comes out wonky, like completely wonky. And the production piece would look, we can make it look fantastic, but the production piece coming out of China would look horrible. On top of it would cause a lot of breakage issues connecting that hand to the string and the bow and making it permanent versus having the two fingers where you can basically take the string and put it on the finger when you set it up. So it's stuff like that that Brian and Jerry are working good together to catch that stuff before we make adjustments and send it to China and get something back that's really not going to be what we want or that the fans want.
I mean, that's a really hard balance to get right, isn't it? We know from previous, a lot of other companies that we've spoke to as well that, I mean, even certain painters, we know that, one of James Tissay's work, or Tice, however you want to pronounce his name, he did a lot of pieces for a company. And then when China seen his work, they went, we can't do this. This is not possible. We can't replicate this paint, to the point where he was told, where James was like, do a decent job, but please don't do your job, because they can't match it.
Same very as, I mean, that's Darren Long as well. Darren Long and James to say they have to tone their paint down for the factories.
Oh yeah, and I will say that's one of the good things about Mike. He's really good at knowing what can produce. Yeah. I mean, he's been freaking amazing. We're so glad to have him on board. But he knows what a factory can produce and can't produce, which is really helpful from a pre-order or prototype to production perspective.
Yeah, that's a great skill to have, because again, Mike can probably paint it can paint it much better, but then he knows that right level to do it, and that's a skill in its own. To do that. Just getting some questions coming in before I forget them. So some people are asking about the website. When will the website be up and show sort of true orders and details on there?
Yeah, so the website is up. We launched that back in July. Anything you order from the website from July going forward will be in your account on the website. We had very grandiose plans of adding in everybody's old orders into the website. That is we spent 2-3 months trying to accomplish that. And it is by the time we would have been done, everything would have been delivered. So needless to say, we still have everybody's orders. Your orders aren't going anywhere. It's just like old PCS used to be for anything ordered before July. But yeah, we're not going to be, and we've posted, we're not going to be able to get it onto your old orders onto the website, because again, by just the cost and the manpower to do that. I mean, we had a couple developers working on it, and the progress was like a snail's pace. It's just that complicated, both from a code perspective and just the sheer volume. So, But July going forward, so basically the first order was Akuma, Ultimate Akuma. Anything after Ultimate Akuma will be on the website.
I guess there is a point with everything, isn't it, where you have to just draw a line, and,
Exactly.
and there's only so much you can fix. There's only so much damage control you can do for what's happened. You've got to step into the breach and say, from here, this is where we have to set the line in the sand and try and get it to the where we want it to be from now. Because I mean, you can't. There's only so far you can go back, isn't there? There's only so much you can do.
I just want to say, currently Jerry's working on sculpting the Guile, the Street Fighter new Guile. He's just got a message on there, so yeah.
And I remember seeing it. I saw a post on Facebook. People were like worried about Guile, like, oh, Jerry's not art directing anymore, and he's the company is like, no, Jerry is still creative director. He's art directing Guile, and he's working on the Guile file now, sculpting parts. Yeah. So I mean, I'm so glad we were able to keep him on board for years to come. I think the other, besides just from a business perspective, I mean, he's become really good friends of ours. I love Jerry. He's awesome in his work. I mean, it speaks for itself. I mean, I'll give you guys a prime example. The Sagat piece that we had set up in New York. I can't tell you how many people just stopped as soon as they saw Sagat. And at the show, I sold 5 Sagats to people that have never bought a statue, but they were ex-bodybuilders. And every single one of them said it reminded me of my heyday when I used to bodybuild. And that's
that's a lot of very modest people then that you bumped into in New York.
they were pretty jacked. I'm not gonna lie, they were pretty jacked.
Jacked, boy, I wish I could get away with that statement. I don't think I could pull it off. I mean, Alex seen it when he was in New York, and he was mesmerised by it.
I wasn't going to say that because George has a go at me for bringing it up, and we're doing the chat, and I'll be like, yeah, when I was in New York. And when I was in Singapore, and he gets annoyed with me saying it all the time, so I wasn't going to bring it up then. But I think on one of the past chats, I did say that. I said in New York, one of the pieces that stood out the most, had the most presence, and literally, when you walked up, you were just drawn straight to it was the Sagat. That was the piece basically. I mean, out of all of the stuff that was there, I mean, obviously Sideshow had 40 pieces. Then you had a few other places. You had like First and Figures had some stuff there. They all had great pieces, but the Sagat just had that presence there. And I think at the time there were like people bitching about texturing and stuff like that. But I think that texturing is great. I think it looks really, really good. It looks like how he should look. I mean, Sagat isn't a young man. He isn't going to have like baby soft skin. He's a Thai boxer, and in Thailand they fight every single day, so he's going to have like rough skin. He's going to have like aged skin. He must be like mid-40s or something.
They bashed themselves with bamboos, man. They ain't playing games over there. Their skin's rough as shit. So it's perfect. But I really liked it. See, the funny thing is that we heard a lot about the shorts, about Thai boxing shorts should be longer, which is very true. But if you play the game, he's got short shorts, so it's accurate. You've got to ask yourself. I always say this to a lot of people as well, that there's only so much realism you can put into something, especially with like certain game pieces. If you want it to be accurate to the game, which you really do, you don't really want to color in too far outside of those lines. So keeping that on point is got to be the priority. I think Sagat was very nice. I mean, I actually have to say, I think the Street Fighter 1/3 line is PCS's gems at the moment. And speaking of which, we wanted to get on about these warehouse that you do and why you do them.
Yep. So
how that works.
Yeah. So I'll tackle that one. So warehouse gym program is going to end at the end of the year. The reason for the warehouse gym is basically what we've been talking about this whole call, delays, right? So we end up selling out a product. It ends up getting delayed. Then we have customers that cancel their order. That's not the biggest reason for warehouse gyms. The biggest reason is when a distributor cancels their order or a distributor goes out of business by the time it's delivered. A prime example of that is the quarter scale RoboCop. we had 150 come in just from one distributor canceling their order. So in the past, this kind of goes back to Jerry. I always have this vision of Jerry before we came on as like that one-man band with like the drum and the trumpet and everything else all at the same time because he's trying to do everything.
Like Dick Van Dyke from Mary Poppins.
Yeah, exactly. So I always had that vision. So given all the stuff that he had to do, he never tried to sell those canceled orders from distributors, right? So we just had this warehouse just full of old warehouse gems because he just didn't have the time to sell it. So that's one of the things that Mark and I focused on. So one, because we're moving a company, we don't want to waste warehouse space. We want to get that cleared out before we move. And two, it's product that people have been wanting. Now, with that said, again, the warehouse gym program is ending at the end of the year. We have a sale going on right now. Shameless plug again. Black Friday sale, 30% off all warehouse gyms now.
Wow.
To get those out. Yeah, so we're clearing those out, and now that we're delivering stuff on time and catching up, we're not seeing those leftover products anymore. And now that we're going to be
30%, quite a big sale price. I'm seeing Sideshow stuff, and it's running at about 10% at the moment. So 30% is huge.
Oh yeah, well, and one of the reasons why we did that is really the give back to the customer, right? You can do a 10%, 15%. And Sideshow has a lot more product that they're moving. So 10% from Sideshow is still pretty big for them, given just the sheer behemoth of stuff that they got. But for our stuff, it's kind of the, hey man, hey guys and girls, we're trying to make up for some of the stuff that's happened in the past. We want to give back to collectors. Here's some stuff that you guys have wanted that you couldn't get, and here's a nice discount to go on top of it as well. So that's one of the reasons why we went with a bigger discount as well, is to kind of we want to give back to the collectors as well. So
yeah, and this is realistically going to be the last big sale for PCS.
Yep,
because we're running really low. I'm in the warehouse with the product, and it's going fast. So if you guys don't get some of this stuff, older pieces now, this is the last chance to get it directly from us.
Yep.
Yep. Just going through the questions again. So I'm just scrolling through. I'll leave that one to the end. What about you guys were looking at a few 1/6 lines at one point. So you had like the 1/6 Street Fighter lines. You had the Sons of Anarchy, and at one point you had the American Werewolf in London, which I think got cancelled. Which, hope it didn't. But yeah, how's that going with the 1/6 line? Are you moving that forward or?
Yeah, so I'll touch on a couple of those, and I still have to have conversations with Jerry, since he's running the art side, and we kind of tag team what lines we want to do and continue. From a Street Fighter perspective, the 1/6 basically hot toy style figures, that's still in the cards. We have the designs for those. We're actually looking at another action figure line for Street Fighter as well. So that's not going anywhere. From a American Werewolf in London, we actually have all those tools and stuff done. It's just finding the time to be able to put those and slot those back in. We have to have discussions on what exactly we want to do with that line. So that one's not canceled, but I can't say whether or not it's definitely a go. I would say it's probably 50-50 at this point for that one.
It's on the shelf for now, yeah.
Yeah. So
another thing, just to touch on timing, those products are really those products are not something that you're going to want to PO and then wait 12 months to release. Those are products that need to be finished, and production samples are shown before they're actually offered to the public. So it's going to be fast. As soon as those projects are ready to go, they'll be released, and people will have their products in their hands within 3 to 6 months.
I like that idea. That's a great idea. Great idea.
Yeah, the Jack and the David, they look great. I think they were at like Monster Palooza last year, weren't they? I think, yeah, they looked really good.
And actually, what Mark just brought up is a very, very good point, and is exactly what we're doing with the 1/8 Street Fighter line. So we have the production samples back from China, and that's what we're using to do the PO for. I think we're doing Ken and DJ in the next couple weeks, and once we do the PO, we're releasing. They're going to be in customers' hands within the next 3 to 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's kind of our test to try to get quicker delivery times. So start with a small scale, and then we'll just start constantly bringing in more and more product, that same type of construct.
And while we're talking about sort of the horror with the American Werewolf in London and things like that, I mean, you just did the the American Werewolf in London, and you did the Howling piece. Are you looking at doing any more horror pieces?
Well, we have the H.P. Lovecraft.
The Chichilla thing.
So we did Cthulhu. We'll continue that line on. We have the Dungeons and Dragons license, which is going to have some really cool monsters and creatures in that we're going to do as well. And
so with the Dungeons and Dragons line, what part of Dungeons and Dragons is that? Is it the board game? Is it the animation, or is it the video game? Which
it is the.
Please say it's the cartoon from the 80s, please.
It is. So it's the cartoon, and it's the let me rephrase that. It's the board game, definitely.
Yeah.
The cartoon is 90% there. I should know more on the cartoon.
Oh, I'm gonna get a dungeon master.
Yeah. So I should hear back on the cartoon piece, because I literally went back to them a week ago after feedback from our collectors group. Another reason to join our collectors group is to give us feedback on what licenses you want. I went back to Hasbro to see about getting the cartoon version as well, and hope to hear back next week on that.
Can you imagine that Avenger on his horse would be amazing? That'd be really good. And then the dragon. Who's the dragon that Avenger's scared of? That would be really good as well. Really nice.
Yep.
I can never remember the name of it though. But that'd be really, really cool.
That's usually mine and Alex's drunken conversation. A lot of other friends talk about Tyson versus Ali, or the state of the FTSE 100. But me and Alex will sit up and go, what was the name of that dragon from, Dungeons and Dragons? The one that Venger was really scared of? What was that cat's name? What was that guy? And we'd sit there for 45 minutes coming up with all that. I mean, it took us half a day to remember Venger.
Yep. Yeah, we were trying
we couldn't remember who that dude was.
We were trying to do He-Man's Panther as well, and I don't think it has a name, does it? But
Panther.
Skeletor's Panther, yeah.
No, see, this is the conversations that we go through. Sadly, this is how we are.
That's funny. Oh, but we do have we are working on another license for a very iconic horror serial killer bad guy. I'm hoping to find out about that. They told me it's going to be a little slow process, so maybe.
If that's the double M, I mean, that's the one that people are wanting in mixed media. So that could be. If that's the one, I'm not saying that, that would be, that'd be one that people would want.
I'll just say my lips are sealed.
Yeah.
Sealed. Alex is a lot, don't worry.
I don't know anyone. I sit at home talking to myself, that's all I do. But just going back, so with the He-Man and Skeletor Panther, do you know, with the He-Man and Battle Cat that's coming out, there were rumors of there going to be a Skeletor and Panther coming out as well. Is that back on the cards or not?
Yeah, so I'll hit that one, and this is kind of the, like, people are like, oh, it's never going to happen. Look, Mark is a huge He-Man fan. We want to do Skeletor bad. I mean, I'd probably say it's probably one of the, top of my list is Skeletor and Panther. I mean, we have this image
Panther.
of... Huh?
That's it.
Yeah, Panther.
Panther, that's his name.
So we have this thought of, I mean, it will look epic. We're working with the licensor.
When we were kids and they had you going to do the skin. When we were kids and you got the battle cat, you got the suede or a cat skin. Do you remember that? That was the good. I mean, I had the cat in the purple armor. That was the serious business. Happy days.
Yeah.
But so we're working with the licensor on that. The reason why it's taking so long is the original licensing company was bought by another company. So we have to work with somebody else to get it going, which means it takes a lot. When you're starting from scratch with a new company, it takes longer than just doing an amendment to a deal, right? I mean, I think a good example is this Hasbro license we have. I think Jerry said it took like 2 years to get it done. I'm not saying that I'm not saying Skeletor Panther will take that long, because it's just one license. It's not multiple licenses together. But it is going to take time. It's not going to be a week from now. It's going to take time before we go after that. But I'll say we are after it. We're gung ho about getting He-Man and doing the Skeletor and Panther. It's on top of our list. There's nothing that money won't stop us. The only thing that would stop us if it's the licensor just said we can't have it. That's the only thing that will stand in our way.
Sorry, someone's just posted on there saying the dragon's called Tiamat, so I just want to throw that in there. Sorry.
Oh, there we go.
Tiamat.
Now I can sleep. I don't need to worry.
Definitely, yeah.
I get a good night's sleep now.
So I mean, that's another one.
So what other questions
came up as well? With there's a lot of people who collect the He-Man film motion set. You guys going to continue that one?
Yeah, that would go hand in hand with the Skeletor and Panther.
Yeah, I think that line in particular is has a lot of legs to it. I mean, there's so many characters. I was looking in this really cool toy book the other day.
Yeah.
All the Masters of the Universe action figures that came out in the 80s and early 90s, and there's so many awesome.
Man.
We had loads of them.
I had
collected loads of them. Yeah. I
had.
I mean, we've got big plans for that line, and I like that style a lot. I like the taking the cartoon and putting it into 3D. Someone could put onto their desk.
It definitely would translate, wouldn't it? It would translate Jerry's style a little bit as well. You could really do something special with that.
I think that can translate to other lines as well. I think we hit on something there. Jerry hit on something when he first started that line, and I think that it could translate well into other things as well, besides just Master of the Universe.
Definitely. Well, there's loads. I mean, the 80s cartoons were great. You know, they did so many great cartoons. I mean, I know a lot of them have been made though, but like, I mean, even you guys did the classic Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from the cartoon. That would be great. I mean, you guys would be able to capture that really well.
That's a really good idea.
Yeah, I think you guys do that perfectly. And they need, I mean, they always do the Turtles, and they miss out, like, no one's really done like a proper Krang. You know, you need all those other characters as well. I mean,
that's why XM capitalized so smart. That's what they did.
Yeah.
Companies over the last 10 years would produce a Spider-Man, a Hulk, a Wolverine. But where's Mr. Sinister? Where's the Apocalypses? Where's the Omega Reds? Where's the, you understand? This is what XM managed to capitalize. But certainly with Spider-Man, every type of Spider-Man's been done. So what did they do? They did all the other guys. They did all of the Sinister Six. It's a very intelligent move. It's not always to give the A+ characters, but to give the rest that will fit in with the A+ that people already have. I mean, that's the skill.
Well, and I think that's
very, very smart.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the ways that PCS stands out is we do lines. We don't do one-offs, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, Masters of the Universe is a good example. Street Fighter is a good example. Mortal Kombat's a good example.
I tell you what isn't a good example. The Thundercats wasn't a good example because they stopped. But you guys, did the Chitara and the Tiger, and they ended up like showing them, and it was like, oh fucking hell, look at these are awesome. I've got Lionel and Mumra, and I'm like, yeah, come on, Chitara, come on, Tiger, and they got to do a Panthro as well. And I'm like, yeah, this is good. This is happening, and it didn't. And I was like, damn it.
Yeah, I think that one was an example of the fan base just wasn't big enough.
Maybe of the time though. Maybe of the time. It's probably because you're still going back. What's 5 years or so? No.
No, the thing is as well is that it happened recently. I mean, I think there's a curse with Thundercats because. Connecticut's basically made a diorama, and I've got the prototype here, and they made the diorama. It's like a massive fifth scale, is it, diorama of Lino and Mumra, and the pre-orders went up, and I think it sold like 12, and they cancelled it. They totally scrapped the project. So, I guess there's certain collecting groups where they're not willing to pay that kind of money for things. I mean, when you're used to buying, $15 toys or whatever,
Yep.
I guess that jump is so much higher to get there, isn't it? I mean, there's a few other pieces. I think when they said about a lot of like the Magic the Gathering line and a lot of the World of Warcraft line, they said that they never really thought that they would do very well because of the fan base that actually play the game. They're not likely to pay that much money for the pieces.
Well, that's actually a good segue, which is, so we have Magic the Gathering license, but we're doing a small scale, particularly for that reason. So it's more affordable for the players of the game, right? It's a lot easier to pay $100, 120, 150 for a figure that you can actually set on your board or set on the table than paying. You're not used to paying $500, $600, $700.
Over $1,000 some of the Magic the Gathering ones are.
Yeah, exactly.
That white tiger thing, I've never played the game. There's a white tiger that looks amazing. It's like $1,000, you know, and it's just like, you know, the people who play that game aren't likely to buy that, you know.
Yeah, it looks.
I am generalizing, but yeah, it's the same as I know. There was a company before who were going to make the Warhammer pieces, and I know another company picked up the license, and they wanted to make a Space Marines, one of the blue Space Marines, and they wanted to make it the same scale as the Hulkbuster, so it's going to be about 30 inches tall. It's going to cost like you know $1,500, like $1,500, and it's going to be like this big, and it's going to be like huge, and it's just like they're not going to buy it. You're going to get like about, you know, a handful of people buy it, but you know these people are used to things that big that they paint themselves. Why are they going to want to have something painted by a factory that, you know, they can probably paint it better? It's not. It's hard. It's a tough market.
Agreed. But on the cartoon lines, we will be doing a cartoon version of G.I. Joe in quarter scale. So
nice.
That's going to be awesome. I can't wait to do those pieces as well.
Mixed media as well. Mixed media, typical pop culture shock. Mixed media.
We haven't decided. Probably, I'm leaning towards no. But we'll
fully sculpt,
yeah. So I mean, the issue with mixed media is there's not a lot of factories that can do mixed media. So think about the population or the pie of our factories when you're doing a fully sculpt, and then as soon as you shift to mixed media, that pie has shrunk dramatically. They just don't have the capacity, the talent or skill set to do it. So we want to be very selective with our mixed media, right? So like anything that's mixed media now will continue, but we need to be selective on any lines we start with mixed media.
Yeah. Well, you guys are talking about.
I guess that makes it harder to go with your factories, because you'll be held to ransom, won't you?
Oh yeah.
That's another issue, isn't it? If the pie is small and you can only use certain places to do such things, that leaves hard negotiation. If you've got nowhere else to go, it's more difficult. I guess having the choice, having the freedom is the answer. That's why and in fairness, a lot of places, you know, a lot of collectors now are finding that, you know, they age better, the fully sculpted work.
Yeah.
A lot of people, it used to be that mixed media was really important. It's not proved to be so much anymore, not according to certainly the trends at the moment. I mean, when you put down, you know, do you want it to be mixed media? Do you want material or fabric? It's a lot of the time it's no. So I guess it's
some like it, some don't. It's a preference thing. Jerry wants to give a shout out to is it Emiliano Santa Lucia? It's the designer of the Masters of the Universe line.
Oh yeah, and he's working with us on the Transformers line. It's going to be amazing.
Cool. That's going into that as well. I mean, with the
difficult that.
And also, sorry, it was also Alejandro Pereira as well, who did the Boston University saying here as well. With the Transformers line, that's quite interesting. I mean, there's 3 big companies making Transformers at the moment, and then you guys are coming in as well to do it. And it's a bit like what you guys are going to do to kind of make it stand out. Because I mean, like, obviously you've got, you know, Prime One doing all the movies and doing kind of every version under the sun. Then you've got I actually think Imaginary Mars did a really good version of the G1 piece, the Soundwave. I love it. And then XM, they're doing their take on it again with the Shockwave, with the Optimus Prime, and even I think even Sideshow had to go at one point. So it's quite a tough market to break into.
Yeah, so it's, you always got to make yourself different, right? And what we do with Transformers is going to be totally different than what everybody else has done. And I agree with you. All those that you just named, I mean, I'm a huge Transformers fan, so I mean, I want all of the above. But from our perspective, we're actually going to start off with smaller scale. So think about 8 to 12 inch figures for Transformers. And the reason we're doing that is kind of to bridge the gap for those people that are collecting like the Masterpiece collection, right? The actual Transformer toys still. So we want to bring them into the statue community to where we're going to create like poses and scenes that you just can't do with a Masterpiece Transformer. That's one. The second piece is hitting that 18-inch, I can't say quarter scale because not really quarter scale, but basically the same scale that XM Prime 1 are doing, but doing the cartoon version. So again, sticking with the kind of filmation feel line that we're doing with like the Masters Universe, G.I. Joe, and then do it with Transformers as well.
Cool.
So that's Gen 1.
Yes. Oh yeah, G1.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things as well that came up with when we were looking into it before, because I did post some images before, and I was asking some people on the kind of statue, so the Transformer forums about it all, and it was the same kind of thing about people were saying the same issues with like, well, if I can buy a Transformer that actually transforms and I can pay this much for it, why would I want a solid statue? And it's that kind of mindset you kind of got to break into. It's quite hard to
so here's the difference. So one, we're using Miliano, who actually works with Hasbro on a lot of the Transformer stuff. But one of my best friends is actually a huge Transformer collector. I think he has maybe 300 Transformers in his house.
Wow.
And I talked to him and a lot of his collector friends, and majority of them, once if they take it out the box, they don't transform it back and forth, right? They do it one time and they leave it. They turned it into a statue. And when I broached this idea with him, so originally our Hasbro license didn't include Transformers or Magic the Gathering. We got those added on at the end. And when I broached this idea with him, the biggest selling point was that you're still G1, or if you do Beast Wars, whatever, is you're making a pose you can't do with a toy, right? The other piece is that when it's a statue, that's something you can set on your desk at work versus a toy, right? And when it's the same price as that toy, so the Masterpiece line is $120 to $200 to $300 for a Transformer. So when you're hitting the same price point or lower than the Masterpiece line, and it actually looks like a statue and a collectible, that's the difference maker right there.
Yeah, I had a Transformer when I was one of the ones I had when I was a kid, and it was Starscream, and it had all these bits added on, and I could never transform it properly. And it was all die cast, and it was quite expensive at the time. And I remember at the time George wanted it off of me, and he traded me. I think he traded me 6 Mega Drive games for it, like Sega Genesis games. He gave me six Sega Genesis games for this this Transformer. And then what happened is about 2 weeks later, so he's giving me these 6 games, and then about 2 weeks later, he goes to some other guy's house and he trades the Transformer for a G.I. Joe helicopter. And then I traded him something, and I got the helicopter off of him. And he ended up with like hardly anything, I think, at the end of it. He's like the worst person.
That's the level of my negotiating skills.
Yeah, he had like a little bottle of like bubbles or something. He was like sitting in the corner blowing his bubbles, and I've got like a fucking helicopter.
Because we've been friends since we were 5, so we've collected everything together at some point. Certain lines have been more important for certain people. So, Alex actually liked Transformers a little more than me, probably because he was a little bit more. I haven't got the patience to transform them. That just isn't going to happen. I'd tear the arm off it rather than try and take it out of its body. It's just not my style. So, that's how it goes. I mean, I think it's I guess the idea is to stand out a little bit with that line because so many people are doing it. So I commend you for giving it trying to give it a different work. Is there any sort of exclusive, things that you can share with us moving forward? Any new projects that are going to be coming up other than these?
Let's see. So Hasbro, we went over Transformers, G.I. Joe, Dungeons and Dragons, Magic the Gathering. My Little Pony. Don't laugh.
Joe Rob, my friend Rob, right? Basically, he's got a T-shirt. It says Brony on it because that's what the My Little Pony fans are called, bronies.
Yeah, Brony. They got Brony.
Yeah. So he's wearing it. What the fuck does that mean? It means he goes what the My Little Pony fans are called. He was wearing it. Yeah.
Yep. So those within Hasbro, we have a couple huge licenses we are currently working on. This Thanksgiving holiday kind of slowed it down. One of the big ones I'm hoping to hear back next week. Actually both of them. Oh my goodness, there's three now that I think about it. One's going to be cartoon based. Another one is going to. another
hint, like the Michael, so the MM one. That was a good hint. That was quite easy to pick up on.
Yeah, so I don't think you'll guess these other two. So one is cartoon. One is a huge brand, basically on the same kind of lines of from a size perspective as Hasbro. And then another is a sci-fi line. That if this hits, it would actually hit Jan 1, where we'd start kicking this one off. And then what is that, 2? And then I said cartoon, the big one. And then another one is an action hero that people have been asking for as well. So we want to continue that 1/3 scale action hero line that we did with like Rambo and Conan. So we want to keep that going with this other one, which I should hear back next week as well. So
quite a lot of people are asking about 1/3 Dutch, aren't they? So yeah, that would be quite nice. I don't know, just a guess, but hey. But no, yeah, that'd be good to see all those pieces. I'm quite glad that we went through the whole chat about talking about Jerry's Ferrari as well. I thought that was going to pop up at some point.
Oh yeah, and
well, you've just done it now.
I had to. It was on my notepad. I had to.
Yeah. So let me.
Put it in the comments. Has he not written? Has he not put in the comments that sorry I can't talk? I'm in my Ferrari. Has he not said that?
No. He said he was sculpting.
Is he not there?
He was saying hello to some sculptors and. Oh wait, what's this one? Jerry. No, that's the name of the Masters Universe. No, he must be. Maybe he's driving. He don't text and drive.
Oh.
Yeah. So let me hit on that Ferrari. A lot of rumors out there that are just people just going off the hinges with. The first one is Jerry owns 3 Ferraris. Jerry has owned 3 Ferraris in his lifetime. He doesn't own 3 right now. The Ferrari he has is freaking amazing. I can't lie. I rode in that thing. Mark rode in it. I mean, it is amazing. The other thing is people try to do the whole, oh, Jerry is taking my pre-order money to buy a Ferrari and et cetera, et cetera. Jerry is brilliant. He is very smart. Yeah. Jerry was in movies way before he started PCS. Jerry has made a lot of money prior to the statue community. And he has made a lot of great investments as well. That Ferrari didn't come from PCS. That Ferrari came from Jerry's investments in his years in the movies. I think people just think the margins in the statue community or statue companies are really they're not large.
No, I mean, especially if you start going through, I mean, when you guys sell your statues through your website, that's good. That's when you get your money. When you guys start selling through big distributors like, Sideshow and all the other companies, your percentage profit is not really there. There's hardly any there. It's so small. People don't realize. I mean, I won't go into percentages, but there was a thing about what another company was paying another company to distribute their stuff, and it was It was ridiculous. When I heard the number, I was like, "What?
High, unbelievably high."
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. So it's not.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing that you know what it is. You know what it comes down to. You don't give people the ammunition to throw at you and make these type of accusations.
Oh, yeah.
That's the lesson,
Yep.
and that's why creative design is the better, you know, and doing the things that you love, where you can say what you want and you can do these things, and you don't get that fired back at you. You can be free to just be who you are, instead of trying to be, you know, responsible for the whole company, back to front, everything else. Because unfortunately, you know, it's two sharp gentlemen that you don't give people that type of ammunition. It's just not smart. If everything's going great, then by all means, that's great. But when the shit hits the fan, you know, we all know that friends quickly turn.
Oh yeah.
And things quickly take a knot. I mean, you know, we of all people know, you know, we're not a company. We're two best friends who try and help the community as best we can.
We try and be involved. We get some great ones.
You know, we
got one about.
We get it all the time.
Someone kicked off, and he was being an idiot. And someone kicked off and basically said, "Yeah, I think you guys need to go and do some night school, and you need to go and you know, learn some courses and go do some things, because when this bubble bursts, you ain't going to have a job." And it's like, yeah, this isn't my job. I don't get paid to do this.
My job.
You know,
this isn't what we do for a living.
Yeah.
You can't afford this shit behind me by doing this shit here. This is free. This don't get us nothing. So the thing, but you get it. You know, people even people that support you from the very beginning, they're quick to turn. So you know what I mean. The lesson will be, obviously, is to not give people any ammunition to throw back at you. I mean, unfortunately, I think Jerry's had to learn the hard way with trying to, you know, use. I would say examples, or what do we call them, analogies. And you try and use an analogy of like a Ferrari as a handmade, you know, something that's built to last and is superior to everything else. And when you're using your company as an example to that, and it's not doing as well, you know, as it should be, you're just going to get, you know, rained on a little bit too much, and all these accusations will follow, you know?
Yeah. And I would say a lot of that, has to do with, so Jerry was one of the few owners that interacted with the fans daily.
Yeah.
Right?
I was going to say that as well. You know, we literally in January will be 5 years since we posted the first video on YouTube. And in the beginning, the first person I knew of who was a company owner was Jerry. He was the first person I knew from social media as a company owner. So
yeah, so he was one of the few that responded and talked to collectors daily, right? Which, to your point, is great when things are going good, but starts to pile on when you have just so much going on and you're doing everything, and then if stuff starts to turn. The other thing is Jerry is an artist. Every artist is somewhat sensitive, right? Because you put in all this. I mean, I'll give you a prime example. Jerry put his blood, sweat, and tears in that Sagat, right? Spent 6-9 months sculpting that thing. And then you go onto a forum and you hear somebody say, "Hey, those arms are too short," right? It's like stuff like that. So you have like one person, and then people just pile on top. And it's I just spent the last 6-9 months sculpting this thing from scratch with my hands. And you are just going in on me. And then he has to go and defend himself, saying, "Look, this is anatomy. This is how anatomy works. Hold your fist next to your body. This is exactly where Sagat's is," right? It goes to that, and then people just get disrespectful from there. Now, here's the thing. I love Jerry. Jerry is a big teddy bear, but he's still a bear. You keep poking the bear, you're going to get bit. Now, with that said, now he's focusing on just on the creative side and the art side. He gets to have fun. So, Gio, to your point earlier,
enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. To your point earlier, when you're dealing with everything with the company, you're going to be on edge, right? Versus now he gets to do just the art. He doesn't have everything else weighing him down to where he'll be go off a little bit quicker because of all the other stuff that's going on. People don't realize everything that happens in the background. They just see just the one little piece that they're talking about, right? So now that he gets to focus on the art, I mean, I don't think the Jerry I first met and the Jerry I see now, he is so much happier. I mean, it's like
when you're happy, you can when you're happy, you do your best work.
Yep, it's true.
The funny thing is, actually, it's a funny experience. When we were in Singapore, me and Alex, we were with the artist Caleb. You know, Caleb Nefran. I can't pronounce his surname.
Yeah.
Anyway, we were with him. What he was doing was he was keeping quite a low profile, and he was walking around some of the pieces that he sculpted, that he designed and sculpted. Yeah, and he's a really humble, lovely guy, very talented guy. And what happened was he was standing around and he was listening to what everybody had to say about his particular work. Okay.
Yep.
Now, I was around there for 3 days with around catching parts of it. And for every 150, 200 people that said it was amazing and blah, 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 and all this, I remember when we were like, when the con was over and sitting down and talking to him on the way home, and all he remembered was the 4 people that didn't like his piece. He remembered what they wore. He remembered how old they were, what their names were. He remembered every single part of the people that were negative about what, and he was really hurt by any negativity he received. Now, we're talking about, he probably got 150, 200 a day, people saying how great it was, getting people taking pictures with him because I kept grassing him up and saying he's the sculptor. And then because he's shy, he got. I was doing that to me because I'm like that. I'm quite spiteful. But for every 200 people that said it was great, he remembered the one person that didn't like it. So that you're completely right, and it's the same when I talk to Aaron Ray Perez, or he's a magnificent. That guy is an unbelievably talented man. But it's the same. For every 100 great comments he receives, he'll remember the one that said that head doesn't look right, that eyebrow's too high, that eye isn't straight. He remembers all of that because I think artists do. I think it's so much passion. I don't think you can make these things without being really passionate about it. And that, unfortunately, that's a double-ended sword, isn't it? I completely agree with you.
Okay.
Another perspective on that is, so just imagine you're at your job, right? And you just spent the last 6 months working on a huge project. And then just some random person comes to your job and say, hey, man, that thing looks like crap, right? It's like,
dude, I train fighters for a living. When they lose, that's exactly how I feel. If I've been working on it for 8-week program, making sure that this is right and that's right, and you strength and conditioning spot on, body fat's down, weights on point, and then they get on the scales and they're fucking 2 pounds over, or they get knocked out in the first 30 seconds. Believe me, I know exactly how Jerry, Caleb, and every other person feels. I'm the one crying on my way home.
If I was saying so, yeah, Caleb sculpted the Slain that's going to come out. That's PCS.
Oh, yeah.
It's that. I was going to say as well. I mean, someone's asking about. I don't know. He keeps on coming in, but he always helps me out on the chat, so I'm going to have to ask his question. But he's asking about the Conan War Paint. Has it been changed?
Yeah. So the Conan War Paint. So this was a. I know Jerry posted that the whole piece was going to be fixed. This is an issue of the old production manager that was at PCS, not capturing Jerry's comments and Jerry's changes when it went to China. That's a good thing about now having Brian on board, that we don't have these issues. There's Brian right there.
Hi, Brian. I just repainted Conan's head. Hello.
Yeah, so Conan's head Conan's head has been changed. So the war paint on Conan's head has been adjusted. The body was too far down the production path to change the body, but we were able to catch the head in time. So the head will be adjusted. I talked to I think it was Danny Ernst. He brought that up a lot. The issues with the war paint, and kind of came to, I think that was a good compromise. The other issue, if we just like restarted it completely, then you're talking about another 3 to 6 month delay. Just to change the war paint, plus you end up having a bad reputation with the factory, right? You just had them complete the whole statue that's less than a month away from being delivered, and you tell them you need to completely restart the whole thing, right? So it's a balance between delivering what was said that was missed by the old production manager, and also balancing what the customer wants and also the relationship with the factory. So it's a fine line to balance, but the head will be fixed, or has been fixed. Brian actually repainted it and sent it to China.
You see with the back there.
Yeah, guys, I just want to interrupt for 1 second because we're shutting down over here. It's getting close to quitting time for us. But I got a special treat for all the viewers. We just received today, and I'm staring at it. It's freaking amazing. The jury production sample. So would you guys like to see that?
Yeah, of course.
You're damn right.
We'll just turn it this way a little bit. I'll try to get
Yeah.
the whole thing.
Wow, it's big. Jesus.
Yeah. Can you guys see all of
Jesus, oh yeah.
Just a touch more. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There we go. I don't know. I don't know if we can get rid of it.
That's huge.
There was there was an image where it had all the ultra line on one image, and they look amazing. They look so good. They look really well.
Is that 1/4 scale, that piece?
Yeah.
Jesus, wow. Looks big, doesn't it? Looks nice.
Turning off the lights.
You guys see the eye?
Yeah.
I was
no higher.
Yeah.
No higher. There you are.
You see it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. So what's the sort of turnaround on that?
I know she had a light up eye. Is she like a cyborg then or something?
I don't know.
I didn't know she had a light up eye.
Yeah. I'm gonna turn it off. So you're gonna make that brighter.
Yeah.
So this is just this is the
color too.
This is the first painted sample of this piece. So there'll actually be a few changes. We'll make some notes and then send them back to the factory, and they'll fix some minor stuff. But this is really close to the finished product. It's amazing. This is one of my favorite characters too. So
that is really cool. I never really I never played with her. I mean, in all honesty, I mean, I played all the original ones, and then I played a few at George's house, and then once it started to get to a certain point, I couldn't do any of the combos and things, and I stopped playing because I played like one game every 3 years or something now, and I end up playing games like
He's used to getting his
Witcher.
ass kicked by me numerous times.
Yeah.
Fighting games, he has no chance.
I like the fighting games where they're just like you just smash the buttons and hope for the best. That's what I like. That's what I
A bit like your sex life, isn't it?
Pretty much, yeah. Just put it in, wiggle it around, and hope for the best. Yeah. But no, she looks really nice. I mean,
I think this looks fantastic. I really do. Super dynamic.
When you see these sort of pieces on the website, you kind of see the image there. There's kind of no gauge of the actual size. I mean, they'll say, oh, it's 17 inches tall, it's 20 inches tall, and people just assume that this 20-inch statue is the same as this 20-inch statue. Why is this one $200 more than that one? It's like, well, look at the footprint of it. There was a big thing about the first for figures. Do you remember the first for figures Bowser? That got released, and it was like
What'd you have it?
it was $700, I think it was. When that got released, everyone was like going, "Oh my god, that's so expensive! Why is that $700? It's only 19, 20 inches, whatever." And it's like, have you not seen it? It's like this big. It's huge. The people just sort
But that's also why reviews are so important. Reviews are important as well for when people. That's why when we try and do it, we're next to the piece, so you can get a rough idea of what sort of size you're talking about. That's why sometimes con videos and photographs are very difficult to translate. Once you have it in hand and you're spinning it and you're turning it and you pick the base up and you put the figure in. That moment is a very big moment for. I mean, certainly mine. I don't purchase a lot of stuff that I'm not sure about unless I can see some sort of video on it, and I think that looked fantastic there. So,
can I ask
good job there, Mark? Thank you.
One of the questions that came up a lot actually was about what's your guys' opinion on materials? So with the sort of polystone, resin, and obviously at the moment on the groups, there's a big issue because of the PVC pieces that are coming out. And the resin piece there was a piece that came out like in all the different types, the Godzilla piece, and they tried to appeal to the old Godzilla vinyl market, which a lot of the kind of Western people I don't really think understands how big that is in Asia, and they try to appeal to everyone. But people are sort of complaining about PVC, it's terrible, and this and this. But what's your view on the kind of materials and the reasons they're used and things?
You want to hit that one, Mark?
And we've had Anthony and I. everyone has to keep in mind that we're collectors too. So we have the same discussions. He'll call me sometimes, you know, in the middle of his night, and it'll be 8 or 9 o'clock my time, and he'll ask the same exact question about PVC versus resin. I think that in the statue world, from my personal perspective, a statue is a statue.
Yeah.
There's no place for plastic parts. There's no place for PVC. A statue has to be polystone, resin, whatever you want to call the material. It has to be that heavy, solid material that has some coolness to the touch to it. Paint looks different on resin, polystone versus plastic, for sure. Now, that's not to say that there's not a market for plastic. Plastic has its place. You can do a lot of cool stuff with plastic pieces. Look at the Kotobukiya. A lot of their smaller scale stuff is plastic. A lot of the diamond collectible pieces are plastic, and they're nice, they're good, but they're not in the same. They can't be breathed in the same breath as PCS or XM or Sideshow or any of these higher end products. So I think the answer from our perspective is, if it's a high end product, it has to be made out of high end material, and so there's no room for PVC or plastic in that market.
But polystone does have plastic in it. I mean, polystone is plastic, and it's,
well, I mean, if
it's to do with the amount of marble, is it marble dust or something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
if you want to, resin is just a plastic. It's plastic, but it's not. It doesn't have the same feel as straight PVC that's done in steel molds. So there is a distinction.
Yeah,
and I would say some of the companies that are doing some of the PVC, there's a reason why they're doing it, and it's not to make more money. It's usually from a shipping perspective, to make sure that you're able to actually produce it and deliver it. It may have a lot of intricate details that would be better in PVC than resin, again, from the construction and destruction perspective. And then from a cost perspective, it's not cheaper to do PVC when you're doing a limited edition run.
No, because the steel molds is really expensive. I mean, with the resin, you can just use silicone, don't you? But then with the actual the PVC, you have to use steel. You have to cut steel. You have to pay like £50,000 to make a mold for a part. Not even. I think they said. I think XM said for the tendrils on their Carnage, just for the tendril parts, not even for the body, the base, nothing like that. Just like the couple of tendrils that come off. They said that was like $50,000 just for that. So it's like a lot of money. So
I mean that part of it clearly. But I'm glad that I mean I think me and Mark are on the same page there. I'm in complete agreement with him that if it feels cheap, then you're already in trouble. Right. That's the problem. If you have it in your hand and you put that head on or you put that part on and it feels cheap, I don't care if it costs 10 grand, I don't care if it costs 50 grand. If it feels like it's cheap to me in my hand, as I put it and I put the statue together and it feels cheap, then we've got a problem.
Yeah.
And that's half the issue, especially you want it as well.
Even on a smaller scale, even in the 1/8 scale Street Fighter stuff, I mean, we went back and forth on plastic versus resin, and we decided we're just going to go with resin, even these smaller statues, because there's a collectability there. I mentioned the old Hallmark. We have Hallmark here. I don't know if you guys have it there. It was a old porcelain Hallmark, little Spider-Man, and I think they had a Superman and Batman series. They're only about this big, so 6 to 8 inches, but they were porcelain. That has a weight to it. It feels like you want to keep it around forever. You want to heirloom. Exactly.
I'm with you.
That's what we want to go with the smaller scale. It's not to make it a cheaper product. It's to make it a more affordable product, but a product that people still want to hold on to for forever and keep safe. So I completely agree. I mean, it has to have a weight to it. It has to feel like it's important. And I think that PVC or lightweight plastic can really do that if you're building an entire piece out of it. So I believe in the weight of polystone.
Because there is the argument where people will say that, okay, it's on the shelf. When it's on the shelf, it will look fine. I mean, and when I saw the
When it's on the shelf, you don't find other people, but you know because you put it on the shelf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I was going to say. It's all about the whole experience. About that sticks with you. That's what I was going to say. It's about the whole experience. And like one of the companies out there. I mean, it's a whole experience of like the box, taking it out of the box, looking over the artwork on the box, putting it to one side, getting the instruction book out, doing that, taking the base out, feeling it and going, Jesus, that is my shelf going to be able to hold this? Wow, put it up, getting the body up and being like, Jesus Christ, George, give me a hand with this, putting it on there, that weight, it makes it feel, more substantial, something.
That's the addiction.
If you take a piece out of the box, which I'm sure I've got other pieces over there, which, you pick it up and you're like, okay, no, what is some of this missing? Where's the weight gone? And then we always weigh our pieces as well in our reviews, and yes, you can just see that weight difference. And as I say, some people will say it's on the shelf, it doesn't matter, you can see it. You're not going to move it around all the time. But for me, it sticks with me, and I know I can look around my room and go, that's heavy, that's heavy, that's heavy. That's not, and I know which ones are heavy and which ones are not heavy because I remember it. So. Yeah, and it's. Yeah, but it does give an image of being cheap, but it's like.
When you listen, if you look after like athletes, right? And let's go NBA, just for an example, right? Or even a football player. I look after a few football players, right? I look after a few players that take penalties, okay? Like proper, I'm talking proper football now. Or let's say a free throw for an NBA player, right? You say, concentrate on the routine. Okay, you walk up to the line, you take 3 steps, you bounce the ball 2 times, you hold it in both hands, get a feel, bounce it again, and then you take the shot. It's that routine that you're trying to get them to focus on, not the pressure of the shot. You understand what I'm saying? This is how it works. And the same thing is with collecting, right? You get the box, it arrives to the shipping company. This whole thing, it gets there from TNT or DHL or FedEx or whatever. That's all part of it. You bring it in, you make sure the shipper's not busted. That first cut of it, take the art box out, you check it, it looks great. The art looks great. You open it, you take everything. That is part of the addiction of collecting.
I agree.
And when I look at my piece, when I turn around and I look at any piece that I have, I remember all of those moments that I had getting that out, putting it together, and that awe that I felt when I looked at it. When I was like, oh my God, this is special. This is a really nice piece. And it's the same effect if it's not good. If you go through it and the box is bashed in and something's broken, or it's devastating. And sometimes you don't get over it. And the next, even when you get a replacement in, sometimes it's still difficult to get over that. I had a really shit experience with that piece. So, that I think that's part of it. I think that whole weight part and putting it together and feeling it in your hand that time, because I don't like anyone touching my stuff. Either Alex touches on the review, and I want to stab him with something. Usually, that's why there's nothing sharp around when I do a review, because he has a tendency with my pieces for his hand to just wander off and go, show me that head, show me that portrait. I'm just like, wear your gloves, you can't stop touching my stuff. But I know how it feels in my hand, so I completely get what you're saying. I think it's all part of it. I think it's part of the whole process, and it's that last moment where you put it in your display, angle it just right, and then you put it behind the glass or wherever you're going to put it, or on your shelf or on your side or on your desk. And it's that moment, then it's done. You can step back, and then we wait for the next one.
Pretty much. I was going to say as well, there's another line as well that would be quite perfect for you guys is Final Fight. So like with the original, like Cody, Hager, and Guy, I think they would be right up your street to do those. Because, you're doing Hugo Poison, aren't you? So, yeah, I think definitely the Cody, Hager, and Guy needs to be made. They're the characters which I would like to see from a selfish point of view. But yeah,
you're not the only.
Yeah, I know. I bet there's a big sort of fan base. And I mean, the thing is as well is it used to be before as well that you guys had the Street Fighter line and you were the only guys with that Street Fighter line. Now there are sort of an increase of quite a lot of companies now with the Street Fighter line, and it's the same. It seems like it used to be the licenses were more exclusive to companies, and now all the licenses are just like saying, well, who wants to make it? It's free for all. You know, you make it, you do this, and is that? Are you finding it harder to get licenses now or easier?
Well, I can't really say whether it's harder or easier since I'm new to this. I'm actually batting pretty good from a licensing perspective. So hold on, let me find some. Hold on a second. Knock on wood, that continues. So I can't really speak on the old ways, but I mean, I've been batting pretty good. I don't know if it's my banking negotiation skills or what, but I'll take what we're getting.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, as I say, it's just that now there's so much more variety and so much more. The collectors have to be so much more fussy now. And I guess at one point it used to be there is only one. Well, I can see it from my screen because I'm watching the chat up here. But there's only one Venom, and everyone wanted the Sideshow Venom. And now there's like 3-4 of them. Yeah. And it's not, well, personally, I don't think it's the best Venom. I think it was just because it was the only one everyone was buying it. And now people have got more choice. And it just seems, it's the same with like so many other lines, that there is so much more that people can kind of take or leave it now. So you have to make, how do you make that impact now to get the people in?
Yeah, well, that's why we got J Mac.
Yeah.
He helps us. That's our difference.
I was going to ask you, with you moving to North Carolina, your new offices, what are we going to expect there? I mean, what can you run us through any highlights of your new office?
Yeah, so the space is humongous. So our space in Simi Valley was probably just under 10,000 square feet. The space in North Carolina is just over 20,000 square feet. So we've doubled our space in size. We have a lot more dedicated room to a lot of our different developments, whether it's molding, casting, painting, priming, tooling, 3D graphic design, basically different rooms to just make everything more efficient, both from a tooling perspective, a workflow perspective, and that's actually from a safety perspective as well for our employees. So I think all that is good. The space looks amazing. It's getting repainted and recarpeted and everything now. We hope to share with you guys. Hopefully I can talk you guys into coming down to North Carolina and checking the space out and doing a video of the new space. But yeah, it's amazing. I can't.
You don't have to convince us very hard. Yeah. We're ready. Anyone will tell you.
Perfect.
We drop bags and we're gone, man.
Jerry's saying he's called the Church of Polystone, the PCS office. And he's also saying that you're the licensing master.
Yeah, I'll take it.
But no, as I say, I mean, that's been 2 hours of your time. So, I mean, have you got anything else you want to add, George? We'll go around.
I'm very, I'm thankful that you boys came on and gave us your time and were honest about everything, and it was great. A lot of people are not too brave, so I'm glad that you got up and stood up, because I think it's important going forward with Pop Culture Shock that that it's important that there's some really good changes and exciting times coming, and I'm looking forward to seeing the Darkness and the Conan piece. I know Alex has got the Conan coming, so we'll be sure to mention.
Oh, the Darkness of the way.
Have you got a Darkness? You son of a...
So yeah.
You're just such a statue whore, Alex, man.
I sold
you just sold the Sideshow one.
Yeah, I just sold the Sideshow one, and it was damaged, so it really bothered the hell out of me that it was damaged. And Roberto Penna made an offer, so I was like, "Yeah, take it."
Yeah, nice. I hope you looked after him.
Yeah. So he bought that off me, done like a little payment plan, bought it off me, and then when it went and when I was boxing, it was that time. Do you know when you start boxing stuff up and you're putting it back in the box and you're like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? No. And then, the money, I'd already spent half the money. So I was a bit like, fuck. So I sent it. And then I was looking at one on eBay, trying to find one. And then it came up on Warehouse Gems. And I'm like, fuck, I'll click on that straight away because otherwise I'm going to miss out. And then I read it.
I've got a question.
I read it somewhere.
I've got a question. I've got it.
But I read it afterwards, and I'm like, holy shit, that's 38 inches tall. And I'm like, God damn it. So I'm going to try and
38 inches tall.
Well,
Good luck with that, man. Good luck with that. You have to move house. I got a question before you go. Since you're collectors and not just business guys, I can ask you this question. What piece do you wish that's been made, do you wish that you had a part in its production? What piece do you wish you could turn around and say, yeah, I was part of the company that made that?
You go ahead and hit him first, Mark.
Wow,
Pass in the fuck. Pass that shit on.
That's a fantastic question. Okay, well, I mean that really boils down to what would be the piece that I'm most impressed with, or
yes,
like the design the best, and really it's one piece, and Anthony knows this. I've been begging for him to go after this license, and that was the original Sideshow Pumpkinhead. And that statue,
yes. Yeah.
to me, is one of the most amazing pieces ever.
That's Grail status statue. That's very low run, I believe. I don't think there's many in the world.
150 or something, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to have it. I sold it a few years back, and I was laughing because that's the one piece that I remember putting into the box exactly like Alex said, and saying, "What the hell am I doing?" But that piece is special.
And that piece is massive as well. I mean, it's one of those things where people go, "Oh yeah, it's like 27. It's 27 inches tall, I think, but it's 27 inches tall. But it's like it's big as well."
Yeah.
There's a guy.
The tail. I mean, it's such an intricately delicate piece. And the one thing is, there's not very many of them around anymore that are completely intact without any broken fingers or broken parts. So,
there's a guy,
but that was
Tamarano's got two of them.
That piece that we got made today, all the fingers would be plastic by any company. You know, the Sideshow had some balls by making all that resin, these thin fingers. So it's a great piece.
It's a piece I've yet to see in person. It's on my bucket list of pieces that I would like to see.
You don't see any.
I've never seen it. So
you don't see any in the UK. I always look out for them. Never seen them for sale in the UK. I mean, Omar, who's like a big PCS fan, Omar Emperor in Australia, he's probably got two.
He must have shares in your business, Emperor.
He's probably got two.
He's a big.
This other guy, Tan, who's got two of them. They're both in Australia. So yeah, but I think
read these Australians, man.
Probably back then as well. There's another element involved, which, you know, with that Pumpkinhead, it would have arrived intact, because I think now the parcel companies are less reliable and they throw that shit all over the place now. And I swear to God, there used to be like they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't dare do that before. And now
pride in damn work back in the day, man. They took pride in it.
Yeah, and I think that's a big element as well. I think just the way they handle it now. So
yeah, I agree.
Not getting out of this, and don't even try it. Come on, what you got?
Yeah, so for me, mine doesn't go back as far. I'm kind of staying with PCS because this is the piece that made me decide that I really wanted to work with this company, and it's the 1/3 Goro. When I first went to Simi Valley back in February and saw that in person, from then on out, it was like game over. This is it. I'm already a huge Mortal Kombat fan, but that piece in person and that presence, and this was before they even went up for PO.
Yeah.
When I saw that Goro, I was like, "Yep."
That's not fair, because I was going to say Goro too, but they distinctly said things that didn't have a part of, and we technically had a small part in that.
No, we didn't. We didn't have a part of that.
Yeah, you got to say something else. Your answer is
PCS is that's a plug. That's an absolute plug. That's a plug, man.
You have to choose something else. We're going to
that Goro.
That's a good plug, though. That is a good plug.
It was a great plug. I almost believed you, bro. I was this close to believing you.
Was that Monsterpalooza? I think it was Monsterpalooza, and again, the guy on our page, Zach Robinson, when he saw him Monster Palooza, he lost his shit, man. He was like messaging me non-stop, going, "When's it coming up? When's it coming up? I've got to get one. I've got to get one. I've got to get one. I've got to get one." He was going mad. He did order one, but I'm just saying, yeah.
Well, and
Did he get one?
Also helped me realize how important or how missed traditional sculpting is. That piece. Yeah. I mean, just the texture, the folds, the wrinkles, loincloth, I mean, everything. I mean, that was literally the piece that got me going with, yeah, this is the right decision with this company. And
then choose another one, though, you know that.
Yeah, say what now?
No, you don't. No, we'll let you have that. That's all right. I'll let you have that plug, man. You deserve it. Having the balls to come on here, you deserve it, man. I think that piece, I mean, Jesus, whenever I had the quarter scale Goro, it was one of my favorite Mortal Kombat pieces in quarter scale that you did. I can't remember. I'm trying to think. Me and Alex probably lost at least £100 at the arcade trying to beat that son of a bitch in the first game. Yeah. Honestly, no boss in the history of fighting games took more money off me than that four-armed fool. Because you could in the first game on the arcade, you couldn't beat that guy.
Oh yeah,
I couldn't beat him.
I remember skipping.
Do you remember
the arcade for that one?
Yeah,
we had one near his house that we could go into, like in a little like Indian corner shop thing that we had near his house, and you'd go in there. They had just that one arcade.
No,
we were playing there, and I'll tell you what.
They had two games. They had
what was the other one?
Punisher arcade as well.
Oh, the platform.
Style of like a
Punisher and Nick Fury.
That was
good game. Good game. You're right.
I was going to ask one more question before you go. Because George asked that question, we normally ask that on the website when we actually bother with it. We don't do that anymore. But one of the questions at the end of the website was, who wins in a fight out of He-Man and Lion-O?
Of He-Man and Lion-O?
Yeah.
Oh, you had to throw that one out there.
Yeah.
He-Man and Lion-O.
Oh.
Ugh, that is a battle. I want to say He-Man just because He-Man brought me through some things back when I was a little kid.
They're moral compass things at the end of He-Man, man. They get you through life.
That's right.
Until he comes and he talks to you.
I mean, I've told people this story. This is the funniest story when I was younger. So I still remember this to this day, and this was back in the 80s. I watched Nightmare on Elm Street and was scared shitless. Couldn't go to sleep. I mean, the original one. Couldn't go to sleep. I literally watched an episode of He-Man, and I was perfectly fine after that. So I'm gonna go with He-Man.
All right.
Yeah, I think Lion-O would win that.
I think Lion-O as well.
Oh,
He-Man's not. He's not like.
I actually have to agree with Ant-Man. I'm going He-Man. He-Man's never even been scratched, bro. Mumra kicks his shit out of Thunder Lion-O all the time.
Yeah, but in the comics, comics, what's his name? Mumra kills He-Man.
Really?
Dude, just broke my heart, man. You broke my heart.
And the other thing is what someone points out. There's one on YouTube where someone does, because I had to look it up after I was asking everyone, and apparently Lion-O can control Battle Cat because he can control cats.
Wow.
So
yeah.
So yeah, and then also, but He-Man's sword.
So He-Man gets eaten by his own cat. Terrible. That's terrible, man. Good.
Yeah,
at least they're divided on that. We're divided on that. I would have gone with He-Man. You go with Thundercats. Oh well.
He also got
that's why me and Mark work well together, and you guys work well together. Look at that.
Remember though, Lion-O's about a foot and a half taller than He-Man as well. Lion-O's massive.
This ain't a boxing match. It ain't about reach. You know what I mean? They got swords, dude.
But, I want to thank you guys for coming on and that, and thanks for taking the time. I mean, we've taken up like 2.5 hours of your time, so we'll let you get back to it. And obviously, Mark wants to leave the office, so we'll leave it there. And and
thanks. We wish you like every success. We, honest to God, we do say a lot of the time. On chats and things like that especially that all as collectors, all of us want to do is get the best pieces nobody wants anybody to go under or have trouble or get into financial difficulty or stop making pieces. The priority is always got to be that everybody sort of is making good stuff and collections. Because for me personally, the best collections have Pop Culture Shock, Sideshow, XM, you know, a mixture of like all of the companies, customs, everything all over the place. They're the most diverse collections. And I think, you know, for me, I love that look. So you want everybody on form and making well. And I really hope that you boys really manage to turn it around and don't get too much shit in the process of trying to fix some pretty hefty problems that you've jumped into. So I commend you for jumping in there and trying to sort it out, because I don't care what you say, it was a tough, that's a tough ask, and I think you should be commended. And I hope Conan's really great and successful and you do really well.
Yeah, appreciate you
Genuinely.
guys having us on for sure. I mean, I think I speak for myself and Mark. I mean, I think we would like to do more of these just to connect more with the fans, the collectors, and everything. Continue with the transparency, keep everybody updated with all the stuff we're going on. I would say 12 months from now, I mean, it's going to be a totally different company, keeping all the good and removing all the bad. So we look forward to it. We look forward to working with our collectors and everybody giving us feedback, input, both good and bad. I mean, you can't get better unless you hear both the good and the critical, right? So we look forward to grinding it out, putting in all the hard work. I mean, we're all putting in the hours that it takes, doing all the negotiations we need to do, making personnel changes we need to make, putting systems in place, making everything more efficient, and while also keeping the costs down and keeping the great product and the great art out there. So we look forward to continuing this, and we really appreciate you guys having us on today.
Anytime you're welcome back.
Perfect.
Yep.
Right.
Well, thanks, guys. No, it was fun, but yeah, I got 2 hours of traffic ahead of me, so I'm gonna be taking off soon.
Well, it's 20 past midnight, so I'm going to go and have a snack, and then I'm going to go to bed. That's my plan.
All right, no carbs. No carbs. Protein only.
No carbs.
Yeah, no carbs. I think I'm past that already. I think I found that.
Yeah, well past. Get the sugars in, bro. Thanks very much, Jen. Really appreciate your time, man, and all the best of luck. Thanks very much for sharing.
All right, thanks,
Peace.
guys.
Bye-bye.